last time we filmed an episode and discussed the neuropsychology results that we got about our daughter and how her future was what felt like impacted immediately in the same day. 48 hours later, we had a sedated hearing test for her that was already scheduled. We were not expecting that to be like a thing. So our lives were literally turned upside down again. They found that she has what is called precipitously sloping hearing loss. It is severe to profound in one ear at 2,000 to 4,000 hertz, so like high frequencies. And then it is profound, meaning totally deaf in specific frequencies, again, 2,000 to 4,000. And those frequencies are specifically S sounds, K sounds, yep. CH, things that make speech. Mm-hmm. The ability to differentiate between plural yep. and singular. That explains why she thinks her middle name is Roe when in fact it is Rose. She mm-hmm. cannot hear the S.
Yeah. It's like stop and top.
Stop is
says,
stop.
Yeah.
Sissy is gicky.
Yep.
So we were putting a lot of that together. We could discover her loss is progressive, meaning she could lose it totally.
Sure.
There is a decent chance that she becomes completely deaf. Like completely.
Yep.
You know, there's so much to say here. It was just, we were still processing, and I'm still processing the neuropsychology results, which if you don't know, I'll have the episode linked like up here somewhere. But we were still processing that. Mm-hmm. And honestly, like we just went into that hearing test kind of thinking, you know, this is going, I literally told them before the test, like this will just kind of remove the question mark, you know, and not what we were expecting. Maybe minimal, some,
yeah,
but not your child has literal deafness at certain frequencies.
Yeah.
And not that your child is going to need a cochlear implant or, I mean, and a hearing aid in both ears. That was so far outside of just the like that. I couldn't have dreamed that scenario up, you know? And you know, I'll be honest with you, I'm in shock. And I know we said last time that we were going to resume regular programming here on this podcast and do something fun or funny, but like, this is it, guys. Like, this is real life. And we tried to move into some fun stuff, and it's like life just pulled us back into these heavy episodes. And don't get me wrong, we're not giving up on humor. It's still very much important to me, especially that comedic relief is part of this podcast, because we need laughter and lightness and fun. And I am determined that we will incorporate that. But right now it's really heavy.
Yeah, we'll get there. I mean, it's one of them things. We've just got to process what comes on, you know, and that's just kind of one of them things. We take it day by day and just kind of learn, process, and move on. There'll be time for that. There'll be plenty of time for that.
Be honest, though. I mean, because I think that you did tell me that it was harder for you with the hearing aspect than the other. Just talk about that.
Yeah, well, it's, for me, I think it was more, you know, her missing out to hear certain things.
You were also worried about the hearing aids.
Sure, yeah, because I don't know anything about it. And I know people that have them.
You were afraid she'd be made fun of.
Well, that's part of it, yes.
It's okay to say.
And as me, as a father, yeah, that's one of the things that comes to my mind is
for sure.
Your children. And that doesn't matter, any of them. And
we don't care about that.
No, I mean specifically that your kids get made fun of, period, whether that is for any reason. That's a big thing, at least for me. I don't want to see that. I saw kids go through that too. I mean, we all went through it, I'm sure, as all of us have, as we've gone through school and all that other stuff, right? People get made fun of, you see it. Yep. But that brings an extra aspect to it. It can. I'm not saying that all kids will, but
I think there's more of a protective component.
Right, that's what I was about to say. You want to protect them from that kind of stuff, and you try to protect them as much as you can, but you can only protect as much as you're able to. And then after that, you've got to, unfortunately, you you don't have a way to. And I don't want to be one of those helicopter parents where
Yeah.
constantly everything that she does or happens, like I'm sitting here and I'm over her making sure this. I mean, I want her to be able to live life too. And that's a big thing, but
Right.
that is part of it, yes. But my other aspect of that was music. Music. I love music. I do. I love music.
Yeah. So does she.
Yeah, and
Believe it or not, and she can't. Now we know can't even hear it normally.
yeah, I mean my family's big into music. I mean my great grandfather was, I mean, he was a singer, I think it was, did like a record. My mom is a beautiful singer, can play the piano.
Yeah.
You know, my uncle can sing. I mean,
They have a musical ear.
they do. I mean, they're good at that. And my grandfather was, I mean, he led music at his church like for the longest
Well, Aiden
time.
has a musical ear.
Yeah,
And I fully believe Mila does too.
she probably does.
Because there was a point where she had more songs that she could hum than words that she could speak.
That's right. Yeah.
Regardless of the fact that we know now that whether at the time or whether now, like she's not hearing music normally. But to your point, they told us, you know, that the loss of that 2,000 to 4,000 hertz, you know, space, she's not hearing music
That's right. Yeah.
like she could.
And that's hard because that's really hard for me too. Yes, I mean, number one, getting made fun of, but I mean that's something that you know, at some point I have to let that go. Like I have to know that. Again, it's like our other episode, right? We can't control other people, so you just have to think and just pray that you know that won't happen, and when it does, know how to handle it correctly. For me, that's going to be difficult. It will be. It'll be hard, but
It'll be through the proper channels, school administrators
course,
and all
of
that kind of
course.
stuff. And then maybe like finding the mom in carpool and being like, hey, your kid is mean.
yeah, no, I won't do all that. But but the music is the other big one for me. That's just what I thought about, just because music is something that it you can relate to it so much. And what I mean by that, it's like when you're happy, a lot of people listen to music, and it just you know, it makes them happy. I mean, there's sometimes you're sad and you want to listen to music, and that's your outlet. And you know, there's a numerous amount of things that you can do with it. It's like for her, like during Christmas time, what is her favorite album?
Kenny G.
Yeah, she loves Kenny G. She loves music.
So she's still enjoying it.
She is, and she enjoys it.
But not to its full potential.
Right. That's what I hate, is that she can't enjoy the full range of music, whatever that may be, you know, whatever she enjoys listening to the most. So hopefully, the good thing though is that now we know, like that chart was there, and that chart was great because it broke it down for me.
I'll insert a picture of it.
Yeah, it broke it down for me on like a 5th grade level. Goodness, Lord knows I need that. And it's, you know, it basically just broke down what she is able to hear and what she's not, and drew like pictures.
It's called the speech banana.
Yeah,
they
and
said. That's what they told me.
It's great. I loved it because I was able to see it and just kind of understand, okay, I got it. I know she can hear this, and these are the things that she can't. You know, not saying that the implants and the hearing aid may not be able to help her in that. The only other thing about it that worries me, the third one, is progressive.
Yeah.
I don't want her to lose any more of it.
She might.
And she may. That's right.
There's a not small chance.
Right.
That
and
she
so
becomes totally deaf.
I just wonder. I just don't want her to get sad, where if she's able to hear something at some point and then ends up losing that, and then really realizing it and grieving that. Like, I don't want that to happen for her. But again, it's one of them things that I don't know. You know,
Well,
hopefully she's able to communicate with us to let us know. But
well, they're going to be watching her, and then also one thing that the audiologist did tell me in one of our appointments yesterday was that once she's implanted, meaning with the cochlear implant, she's good. It will access the sound for her. Now, I want to talk about the Alabama team because I am angry about that, and I'm going to be careful and professional here. But I want to walk through a couple of things that happened in her past with the ENTs there. And I'm only mentioning this if there are any other parents out there that are experiencing inconsistent results with their child. Because if I had seen a video like I am about to say right now, 3 years ago, I would have pushed because I would have known, you know? So I am not putting this out there to talk bad about any medical providers. We are not going to name them. I just want to make parents aware that this can happen. Now let's go back. Hospital, newborn hearing screen, doesn't pass it. So then they send her for basically the same test that she had the other day, but didn't need anesthesia because she was a newborn and they just sleep. I have a picture of her with like the little things on her head. And she didn't really pass that either. They sent me to ENT, or they sent her to ENT after that test. I don't remember a whole lot about the test specifically, but I remember that the ENT at the time said, oh, she just has small ear canals. And then said, you're good to go. And I said, I do remember asking him if we needed to follow up. He said, no, you're good. Now, keep in mind, this is a child with a known brain injury who was in the NICU, which is in itself a risk factor, and who was on ototoxic medication. So she had 3 things that made her very high risk for hearing loss. NICU by itself is a risk factor. I think it's because of the loud sounds, whatever. I don't know. That is not me just spitting out something I read on the internet. That is a research proven fact. Raises the risk. Just NICU. Then you add on the ototoxic meds. Then you add on the brain injury. Okay. Now, I didn't know any different. So time goes by and she starts to develop ear infections. And we took her and she got tubes. Okay. After your child has tubes placed, the standard of medical care, and it is well written, well published, and I don't know if it's the American Academy of Pediatrics or whatever governing body is over pediatric ENT, but it is written, it is clear they should have a hearing test after tubes. Okay. No, that wasn't ordered for her.
How long again?
How long? What?
Do you have to have a hearing test after you
I think
get
it's
tubes?
6 months.
Okay.
I believe it's 6 months later. Within 6 months. I'll double check that. And if I'm wrong, I will put something in the box, but I believe it is within 6 months. I found this out like 2 years later, or a year and a half or so. And I brought it up with her pediatrician, who immediately ordered her hearing test. We went in for one of those, and you went in the booth with her at that time. Do you remember that time? Because I had said I have tinnitus, like ringing in my ears, and so the booth is kind of hard for me.
I didn't remember. Yeah.
So in that one, they put the things in her ears, and I think one of them may have passed, and the other one, which we know, by the way, the other one was her bad ear, like the worst hearing ear, the one that didn't pass. They put her in the booth, and they were like, oh, she passes like behaviorally, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then the lady told me, oh, it's just her tubes, and she only needs one ear to develop normal speech anyways. I didn't know any different. You didn't know any different. She already had a speech delay. Yeah. And then she had another hearing test later on. Now, I don't remember the reason for ordering this one specifically, but she had one, and this was in May of 2024. Mila was going into the OR after that. Very soon after that, she was scheduled for surgery for another set of tubes and for a bronchoscopy. So she was going to be under anesthesia. And the audiologist, who I loved her, she said, one, very professionally, I don't like the ENT that you have. This is who I recommend. So we swapped, but it was the same practice. And then she also said, I recommend that you ask for a sedated ABR, which is the test that we had done. I asked for one. It was declined. So even though he denied it, I was like, okay, I don't love that, but she's going to get another set of tubes. And then maybe once she has the other set of tubes and the fluid is no longer a factor, we might actually get a hearing test that is good. Yeah. So that's why I didn't push it. Does that make sense? So then she had another hearing test, and she didn't pass it. That audiologist at that time wanted her back in 6 months. I've talked a lot. How are you in terms of, I think I could safely say you are also angry, but I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, I am. I wish had it been done correctly, I mean, we could have gotten a lot of this found out earlier, which may have helped with a lot of issues that we're experiencing now. Maybe be able to like say words correctly.
And I'm sorry, let me add one thing, because it adds to what you're saying.
Go ahead.
Because she's 5, the ENT told us that it is almost certainly impossible for her to develop normal speech now,
Yep.
because we've lost 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So even implanting her and getting AIDS, it's too late for her to not have at least a speech impediment of some sort.
Right.
And that's not a big deal necessarily. Like, okay, she has a speech impediment, whatever. Like, to us, that doesn't matter. But does that affect her quality of life?
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest part of it. And then I'll let you finish what you were saying. It just that if it had been caught earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it just like it compounds too with her. She's a little delayed with things, so it's going to take
She's
her
a lot delayed.
Yeah, well, it's going to take her longer, even longer, to try to even get to the point where she's saying, these sentences. So had it been called earlier, throughout a lot of this stuff, she could have, worked on that stuff and learned it and all that. So yeah, that is the frustration.
Yeah.
Because I mean, as you mentioned, if it affects her quality of life, like, that's going to irritate me. I mean, it's going to make me really mad.
Well, it has.
Yeah, but I the thing that I'm looking at is now is that we have people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So we now know what's going on. We now know what's wrong. And so now I'm turning the page to, okay, that happened in the past. It's frustrating it wasn't caught. It's frustrating that it wasn't fixed back then to help her with where she's at now. But now, turning the page, we can take that, as you kind of mentioned, and focus on giving her everything she needs to try to be successful.
Yeah.
And that may be the case. Or may be that she is not going to be able to speak normally and clearly, and that is irritating to say the least.
Yeah.
But we're going to move forward with what we have and do the best we can. That's all
We
you
can't
can
change
do.
it.
No, there's nothing we can do.
The other thing too is that we have to fight Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing that I'm just kind of frustrated about, because we're already fighting them, on something else, and the gist of it, my understanding of it, is that they want a hearing aid trial done on children like Mila.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that sounds fine in theory. There's 2 problems with that. One, hearing aids alone will not give her access to those high frequencies, and we were told that specifically.
Yep.
So she will not hear normally, and it'll be a bit like robotic, I think was my understanding. And again, like I said, will not give her access to that 2,000, 4,000. Like, it just won't.
Yep.
But apparently that's fine with insurance. And it's not just Medicaid, it's insurance companies in general. Apparently that's cool with them. Music, they don't care. But the other part of it, and the most frustrating, I think, for me, is that we're going to have to fight really hard to explain or argue or whatever that she can't meaningfully participate in a hearing aid trial. Because, number one, she has a brain injury, and her cognitive profile, as we discussed in the last episode, is profoundly or severely or moderately or whatever. I'm tired, but affected by her brain injury. And then also, she has a very long pattern of being a really good faker in the booth, to say it lightly. I mean, like, she's gotten really good at passing the booth, and it's not real.
Yeah.
Assuming she wasn't hearing, at the very least, when we had that test here in the booth in November and I was there, she definitely faked it then. And she had them convinced. Literally. Like, they told me, they were like, it looked like she passed it. Like, it's great. Like, we'll just have her back in 4 months and she'll see a pediatric one, but like, we think she's good. So like, and not to their fault. She was convincing.
Yeah.
It took a mom who knew her to say, hold up, no, I know this child and something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a fight on our hands coming up, and I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've had to fight a lot of things without going into specifics, and I'm just tired.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, we have a family friend of my family's that my family that we've known for a long time who recommended, because she's kind of walked a similar road, UNC in Durham. They have a pediatric cochlear implant center. It's an academic center. They have super subspecialized cochlear implant surgeons. And I was overwhelmed by the idea of calling them because we were so far in with her current ENT.
Mm-hmm.
And not that they've done anything wrong at all. It's just Mila is so, it's so complex. But I was like, you know what? I'm not the greatest at taking advice. And I literally was like, Rachel, just call, just call. That's all you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Make a phone call. You don't have to commit to anything, but you can just take the advice and make a call. So I did. And I talked to the new families coordinator, and I, talked to you about that. And, they have a lot more experience fighting Medicaid with kids just like her, with, cognitive profiles like her. Excuse me. And in fact, her ENT practice will sometimes refer kids that are complicated to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of suspect that we may and we are going to transition. We're staying the course right now with her current ENT. We're going to, she's already been, fitted for hearing aids, and we'll go back or not fitted. She's had like the molds done or whatever. We'll go back in a couple weeks. We'll get the hearing aids, like all that kind of stuff. And they are ordering the imaging. So like we're moving forward until we take off with the new, with UNC. And we're just going to kind of not burn a bridge, but like, not make it awkward or weird until we need to say, hey, like, thank you guys so much for everything you've done. We think this academic center has, significant resources. And so we would like to transfer our daughter to their care. And we truly appreciate you guys catching this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they will accept that fine. Like, I don't think there will be any problem with it. Because the point is, she's complex.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a brain injury. She's got a cognitive profile that is severely impacted. And then my understanding of it after talking to UNC is that this slope, this downward, like hearing normal frequencies and then having total deafness at some is a lot more complicated to address.
Mm-hmm.
So we made the decision to go ahead and start that process. Yep. And does that bring you, it brought me a lot of comfort in the sense that, because she did tell me, she said that Medicaid, she told me, I'm not promising you we won't have to fight Medicaid. What I am saying is we'll win. Mm-hmm. We see this a lot.
Yeah.
It's not a problem.
No.
And they go peer to peer, meaning doctor from UNC talks to doctor from Medicaid and is like, listen, bro, like not literally, but like, here's the situation. Right. And they do their doctor thing and they speak.
Yep.
They have the ability to do that being an academic center.
Mm-hmm.
So that brought me a lot of comfort in the sense that it was like, okay, I can release a little bit of this burden of having to quarterback this myself,
Mm-hmm.
As far as you're concerned, like, how are you feeling about the UNC thing? Like, did that bring you hope or comfort or?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, not that anything with this one that we have now is wrong.
100%.
It did give extra clarity, though, of what they've been able to help other parents with that are kind of in the same situation. So, yeah, I mean, it helps a lot. It just gives me kind of a little bit more comfort, I guess.
Yeah, and they have the ability to do some stuff that the one that she's at now, doesn't. And not that they couldn't, not that they're not capable. It's just that's not what they're providing. Does that, make sense or whatever? Yeah. And I think a lot of that is because probably I'm assuming, because they're a research center, they've done studies and things like that. And then therefore they have, some specialized techniques. I know some of those being specialized electrodes, like whatever that means. I have no idea. I'm just repeating it, but like electrodes with her cochlear implant.
Yeah.
Like the surgeon can select specific electrodes for Mila.
Yeah.
All of that to say they have the ability potentially to give her a cochlear implant in one ear and a hearing aid in another, or whatever. They have the ability to do different combinations.
Yep.
Because their surgeons are sub specialized in this.
That's right.
And honestly, they also have financial assistance if you hit a wall, which they've actually never hit with this. They've gotten them all approved. Yeah. She told me the worst one they've ever had was a year long, but they got it approved, and their coordinator that was fighting the insurance company literally went to court for the child, and they won. Yeah. Now she was like, Mila's not going to be in that situation. Like, I have no fears about that. But hearing that was like, okay, they are gonna literally go to bat for her. And she told me their goal is to be the last stop and to get the child hearing and the best possible hearing. Yep. So it took a weight off of my shoulders, and I think it does for you too.
100%.
And I think once we actually sit down and meet with the surgeon, which we will, the consult that we are working on getting scheduled will be a lot of different things. We'll need to probably make like a day or two of it there in Durham. Yeah. Well, the appointments themselves, like it'll probably be like a full day. Yep. We'll be meeting with a lot of different people, but one of them will be the cochlear implant surgeon himself. Yep. And yeah, it just took a lot off of my shoulders. Yeah. I think. But anything else you want to add there as far as that goes?
I'm just grateful, Hopefully this is the last stop. We'll be done with it and get her what she needs and just move on. Yeah. That's what I'm looking forward to. So.
Yeah, and I think the key is getting it done as quickly as possible too. That's the other thing. Yep. Like if it is progressive, we need to get her implanted as soon as possible. Yep. Because she is so behind in speech, so that she can gain those words and sounds before she loses access. Yep. Yeah. That might be I might not be saying that right. I could be wrong about that. If a cochlear implant gives her access, I don't know. But perhaps she would have a richer speech in those sounds if it was real sound as opposed to, does that make sense, sense or whatever? Yep. If there's any audiologists listening to this, they're probably like cringing. They're like, oh, they've gotten it so wrong. Which is a great segue into the fact that I am totally exhausted. My brain is foggy. I am just like, not processing information like I normally do. I don't know if you feel the same way or if you're clear-headed. I'm not.
About all this, no, I'm not. But, I mean, that's just with time for me. It just takes a minute to process things. And
do you feel like it's less, do you feel like you're less clear-headed than you would normally be, even post-stroke?
I think probably so.
Because it was a shock.
Yeah, it is. And it's just, for me, it is getting into a routine. The biggest thing, I don't know what that routine is yet. So once that happens, then I'll be okay. I'll be able to process it, take it each day and move on with what comes next. And then that'll help me with my processing and understanding and, really what we need to do. Because, we are creatures of habit. So for the most part, once you get what am I trying to say?
I don't know, babe. We're tired.
Yeah, we are. Anyway, I don't know. Once we get all that in place.
Situated and whatnot.
Yeah, we'll be good. Yeah, situated. There you go. We'll be good.
Emotion-wise, I wanted to touch on the fact that for the first time, I think, in a very long time, I feel very numb. I think I am a little bit disassociated. I feel a bit outside of my own body. Like I'm kind of watching myself go through the motions and fighting for her and making the calls and sending the emails, requesting the medical records, like doing whatever, but there is a, like, I want to access the emotions, but they're not there right now. I haven't felt that way since the NICU, when she was in the NICU. And, you know, I'll be honest, I'm a little scared of that, like, crashing down later. I don't think it will, though, because I'm in therapy and, you know, getting on the right medication for depression, and like, so I think the difference this time is going to be that I'm aware of it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm aware that there could be a crash coming, therefore I don't have to let it take over, or I don't have to let it I don't want to say like ruin. I don't have to let it like severely impact my life, right? Like, I can fight it because I know that it's possible it's coming. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think so.
ChatGPT told me that.
Okay. Well, good for him. Her, whoever.
Is a him. But
yeah.
Literally it was like, and it I mean, it makes sense. Like, literally it was like, this time is different because you are under care, number one, with a therapist. Number two, you're aware. I wasn't aware before. You know, I wasn't aware that I was going to experience a crash landing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Now I can anticipate it's possible, and I can try to protect myself from that, you know, by engaging in therapy and by talking about this and by simply knowing that it's possible and that it might happen.
Yep.
And then therefore minimizing the impact.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a weird feeling because I went from literally grieving and crying with the neuropsych stuff to nothing. And I think that just my brain is just like, I don't know, full protection mode at this point. Like,
maybe
you can't, Rachel. My brain's like, Rachel, you've got no. So we're just gonna like cut your ability to have emotion here so that you can do what you need to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Chat told me that too.
Okay. I don't know. Mine's different.
Is it?
Yeah.
How so?
Yeah. I don't know. I've just been enjoying, like.
Oh no, 100%. I'm not saying. Sorry. Let me rephrase. And I know I just cut you off.
You're good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I am still very much enjoying her. That is not what I mean. I mean the emotion of the hearing loss and processing and grieving that. I don't feel anything right now for that.
Yeah.
Like, anger, yes. Grief, not yet.
I don't either.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's something that, you know, I guess it's just the way that I process things, or maybe it's just I don't really focus on it.
I think it's more normal for you, perhaps, though. Like, for me, it's not. Lately, like, when something happens, like, I feel it immediately. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
This is very different.
Okay.
I don't know how else to explain it.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess my view of it is like we figured out what happened. We've got a plan in place to make it better. Just go through that process, and for me, I'm just enjoying her as much as possible.
Yeah.
Like, even where she's at now, like, yeah, she don't know that she's behind. She doesn't have a clue. Like,
no, and she doesn't know what she can't hear.
Exactly. So, you know, I mean, she's so like cuddly right now with me. Like, I'm enjoying every bit of that.
But this is serious.
I know it is. But
and I'm not saying you don't know. I'm just saying.
Well, but I don't know. But that's what I'm saying. Like, yes, it is serious, but I don't know to what extent, I guess. Right?
Well, it already is.
Right. But I don't see it like, I guess, that I don't see it where she knows that she's affected, if that makes sense. That would bother me more. If I see that and I know she's affected by limitations or whatever it is, that would I would really probably be affected at that point. But she is just, she's so happy. She's so just joyful, cuddly. Like, I just right now, like, I guess that's where my mind can't go. I can't go into the difficulty of it because for me, there's too much joy in that other part.
Do you think it's possible that it's because you nothing against you. You have work and you have to focus on that. And I have my thing. Do you think it's possible that it's because you don't have to face the fight part of it?
I don't
And it
know.
gives you the kind of the ability to enjoy more? Because that's not normal for you. Like, typically for you, I feel like, if it's okay if I say this, like, and I can cut it if it's not, you're kind of a glass half empty
Yeah,
person.
I am 100%.
So so usually you're not leaning towards the positive.
No, I agree.
So do you think do you think it's possible? And you can be honest. I mean, whatever. We're just being honest and real here. Do you think it's possible that it's because you're not in the negative part of it, like the fight part?
I don't know. I can't really say. I mean, I
Yeah.
have no idea, but I just talking to people about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe to get a different perspective. Like, I talked to dad. My dad is a very positive person,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a conversation with him that, it was great. I mean, he was trying to change my perspective. Same way with mom. I mean, she was the same way. She was like, can be negative sometimes too. And it's like, I don't know, maybe it's because I don't deal with the fight on a daily basis and it is work. I don't know. I can't really say that,
Yeah.
but just when I get into the negative though, like I always just try to remember here lately that, and it's been more difficult than in the past. In the past, it's easy to get into that negative mindset and just constantly think, oh, well, this didn't work out, so this is not going to work out. And then when this doesn't work out, oh boy, what's next? Here we go.
Sounds
Negative,
to me like
negative,
you might be
negative.
growing a little bit in that area.
Maybe, and I may be, and I hope so.
Not like you're like not like there's something like wrong with you. Just
Well, no,
like,
it's just like that
I think you
is,
know what I mean.
yeah. I mean, it's
We all have our stuff.
that comes easier for me. Glass half empty
Yeah,
comes
but it sounds
easier.
like maybe that's slightly changing.
I hope so.
Do you
I
feel it?
hope so.
I mean,
I,
the way I hear you talk right now, it seems like it might
I
be.
feel like in this case right now, it's leaning more towards positive just because there are families that are so much worse
For
off.
sure, 100%.
And I
Yeah,
always try to keep that in the mind.
yeah, I do too.
And I hope that whenever I do get into that place where it's easy for me to step into those negative thoughts, I can really step back and say, hang on, wait a minute. There are so many more, you know, negative things that could have happened to you, or whatever it is. Because I mean, crap, we've been through a lot. You've got her birth, you've got my stroke, you've got back issues,
My
your back issues, you've got Mila's epilepsy diagnosis, you've got
the employment situation going on during that.
all of that. Like
Yeah.
it was, I agreed.
And those
Like
are the big things.
I
Those aren't
mean,
even the small
and
things.
during that time, I was not in the mindset that I feel like I'm at right now.
No.
It was negative, negative. It was like, as I literally would, I would sit there and be like, what is coming next?
Yeah.
And that's not a good place to be in. It's not healthy, and it can get to that point where if you're in those constant negative thoughts, you just want relief.
Do you think, and again, I can cut this if you don't want me to talk about it, but do you think perhaps therapy has helped you with that?
I would say maybe in a little bit, but I haven't been going long enough for it to really feel an impact. I just,
But sometimes even just talking about it,
well, and it may be just, maybe it
being
has.
able to release, like a pressure release.
Maybe it has, but and I don't really know. Maybe I'll look back on it and say maybe it has, because I mean, the person I'm seeing right now, I love. Like I can be
Yeah.
real with what I'm feeling, how I'm feeling, how to handle certain things. So,
Yeah.
because the thing with me is, I don't always handle things great. Like it
Well, none of us
happens,
do.
especially when I haven't seen it. Now, when I see it, I'm usually okay, I guess, or it's easier for me to
What
try
do you
to
mean?
handle. I don't like a situation. Like I'm just easily, if you catch me off guard with something, it's kind of hard for me to think through that,
Yeah.
really in depth at that moment. I
Yeah.
guess is the best way I know to say it.
Where your brain is healing.
Could be. I don't know if I don't know. It's been a long time, I feel like, but
Takes a while.
yeah, maybe so. But I don't know. I just feel like that, for me, just getting back to her and the situation now, like I'm grateful that we have people that know what they're doing and know how to treat her. And, it's not something that they've never seen before where they're just like, we're guessing here, we're guessing there, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I really feel confident in her team
Yeah.
that we have.
Yeah.
So that takes a relief off of me. And it's kind of one of those things, I don't know. There's a lot of people that are worse off. So I'm just trying maybe to look at the good and what's grateful in what we have. I mean, think about this for a second. We have a house that we're in. I have a job where we can pay our bills. We've got 3 beautiful kids. Well,
inside or outside?
Well, that's debatable. But again, there is room to be grateful.
Yeah, I don't know this side of you right now.
Yeah, I know. I don't know it either.
It's great. I love it.
But it is, I don't know. I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
So not that later on, when some of the stuff we get into routine, and I may grieve just a little bit there, for maybe depending on like where we're at after we get through all the testing and all the stuff and all that stuff that comes along with it. I'm sure maybe grieve a little bit, especially if I know that like, she's not able to hear like music or, whatever, or parts of music, right? That I think is just so beautiful. Like that is going to hurt me, but at the same time, she's not going to know that something like that is out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to try to keep that perspective.
And she won't have the cognitive ability for someone to tell her.
Right. So, and I don't know.
And also too, just to clarify, we have spoken with the neuropsychologist a couple of times since this new hearing diagnosis, and she does not feel it is going to meaningfully change Mila's cognitive situation. Now, that doesn't mean that she won't gain some speech, but a neuropsychology assessment is so in depth that missing some consonants and like the full range of words is not going, it could change it some, but it is not going to make a drastic difference.
Sure.
And we had even asked her before we knew about the hearing, what if she gains a ton of speech, like IQ wise, and they had said, or she had said maybe like 5 points, right? Like we had asked her that. So now, I mean, with that being said, we did talk about Friday afternoon. I talked to her and she said, if you see at home meaningful, like true, she's just taken off, then yeah, let's reassess. But everybody has told us to kind of temper our expectations as far as that's concerned. So I wanted to also clarify that there, because I'm sure by this point people are probably wondering, what about neuropsych? And it could change it, but it's not expected to change it meaningfully. Yeah. So her inability to understand the full impact of her hearing is probably going to remain the same.
Well, and that's fine. I want to make something real clear about this. Okay. I have no expectations. Yeah. So if you've listened to a previous episode, I am just grateful she is here on this earth. Let's just make that entirely clear. Yeah. Because you don't go as long as you went.
Well, two times she shouldn't be here.
Well, correct. But again, it's bringing back up the other one. I wasn't even thinking about that. So
you're talking about birth, to just make it clear for them.
I mean,
I was talking about birth and seizure.
Yeah, and again, so I'll add it twice, that she shouldn't be here. So I have no expectations. I am grateful that she is here. I love who she is right now. Yeah. I'm having a blast with her.
So what if she becomes a mean teenager one day? Are you going to feel differently about it?
Well, I may be a little sad, grieving the little, little one, how she is now. And just,
I don't think she will.
Well, I hope not.
I don't think she'll be. I just can't imagine her being mean. She's so joyful.
I don't know. She can get annoyed. She can get pretty mad sometimes.
I mean, mean as in like neurotypical mean.
I don't think that.
Like,
I can't ever see her get like that. Again, I don't know. And
like throwing fits because she doesn't understand something or she's overstimulated. Like, she can get intense.
She doesn't understand.
But like, I just mean as in like.
Oh, just mean spirited and all that.
Yeah, just saying mean things. Like,
no.
No,
absolutely not.
Our teenage daughter can say some stuff that cuts pretty deep to me.
Yeah. She's pretty smart.
So I don't see Mila. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't see her getting her, for lack of a better way of saying it, I don't see her cognitive profile changing enough to where she's able to throw barbs emotionally.
So let's stop right there and think about that. That, while we want her to become
Absolutely
a normal individual to be able to think like that,
yeah,
that may be a beautiful thing, though, where
Possibly.
she does not know that type of anger and meanness. Maybe it's just, just simple. Think about that. I mean, if all you knew was just joy and happiness and just,
but I don't want to minimize the frustrations that she does feel,
and I don't want to either.
because she feels them.
I'm sure she probably
when
does.
she doesn't
We
get
see it when
her
she doesn't.
Fortnite game, that whatever it is that she's wanting to play, right before we started filming this.
And that's the thing. Yeah, that you're correct. I'm not trying to minimize that.
Yeah.
And I know you didn't think I was, but it is, she gets frustrated when she doesn't understand or when she can't accurately communicate, what she's trying to say.
Yeah.
Or
when Ariana's just straight up ignoring what she wants.
True. But I mean, it's one of them things that, yes, there are going to be limitations there, but also too that, I just hope that the limitations she does have, like, she doesn't really notice them. It's not something that she even realizes. She just like, hey, she's just here.
Yeah.
She loves what happens. I just.
It's hard too, though, because it's like you want her to achieve her full potential, but then there's a part of you that wants her to achieve what we consider to be normal neurotypical. But then at the same time, you love the way that she is now. So it's like, it's a really confusing and okay to be confusing sense of emotions.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, there's so many different conflicting things here that are like, do you want her to become a neurotypical individual for whatever selfish or not selfish reasons? Sure. That's part of it. Do you want her to become that? Do you want her to become the full potential version of Mila, whether that is neurotypical or not? Yeah, sure. Do you also really love the way that she is now and hope that she never fully understands her limitations? Yes. So those things like conflict in such a weird way.
They do.
You know?
Agreed. I'll tell you what I want. I mean, again, it doesn't really matter what I want or what happens, but just for me, I want her to be her full potential of where she is.
Yeah, me too.
And that's it. That's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Because she again, like we talked about it last episode, and I'm not trying to minimize it, but she's like rocket scientist and that type of stuff based on where she is now. That is just not something that we see potentially that she could become.
Right.
And does that hurt in a way? Yeah, sure it does. I would love for her to be as smarter than anybody else in the world. That'd be cool. But it's one of those things, though, that it's okay. It's okay for her.
Your wife can just be the one that's smarter than anyone else in the world.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Sorry. I said we were going to throw in some comedic relief.
Yeah.
Found an opportunity.
There you go. Yep.
You want to briefly touch on we want to kind of, sort of touch on a few things with each episode. So I figured we could touch on one of the biggest disagreements that we're having right now.
What's up?
You tell me. What is it?
I don't know.
The question that you like to ask me, which is, what do you do all day?
Fair. I do ask that question.
You do. And I've listed to you many times what keeps me busy. And trust me when I tell you, none of it's entertaining. But I don't want to focus much on the argument aspect. I wanted to bring like an interesting twist on it. And I just thought of that today, which is there seems to be the possible, it seems to be possible that perhaps the work that goes into the situation that we are in with Mila, where she's at right now, is as invisible as her disability itself. Meaning, she's not in a wheelchair. So you're not seeing physical labor associated with a child in a wheelchair. She doesn't have a feeding tube. So you're not seeing me having to administer her feeds through a feeding tube or change it or whatever. She doesn't have, a trach where I have to maintain her oxygen levels. But she has this hearing situation where I have to coordinate doctors and I have to request medical records and I have to schedule consults and I have to balance the calendar that Mila might as well have her own at this point. And, she's got the neuropsych situation, which comes with new recommendations for speech therapy. So like I have to manage getting her the right speech therapy, getting it increased, fighting Medicaid on that. That alone is going to be a fight. And then not to touch too much on our battle with Medicaid in another way, because legally we probably shouldn't touch on that. But there's that. And so there's a lot of coordination that goes into that in and of itself. And then there is multiple neurologists that I'm balancing, scheduling, with her Boston team, scheduling with, the neurologist here. That's just Mila. That doesn't include driving her to her therapies. That doesn't include, driving your kids 25 to 30 minutes one way and back to school. So like 25, 30 minutes there, 25, 30 minutes back. That doesn't include Mila's appointments as she has. That doesn't include, messaging with genetics, cardiovascular, pediatrician, attorney for her specifically. Again, not going to get into the details there, but she has one. And that doesn't include the getting all of those documents that go into that fight, because there's a lot of administrative work that goes into a child like Mila with her complexities. So what you see, I think, is me at the computer all day, probably, right? For the most part.
I don't know. I mean, maybe. Most of the time I see you, you're at the computer.
Yeah.
Or gone taking the kids to school.
Right. And so you kind of just wonder, like, well, what's she doing at the computer all day? And I can tell you, it's either that, coordinating all of those things, or, making sure the kids are re-enrolled in school or whatever, or it's editing the podcast or working on the social media thing or, doing whatever. So I think, I don't know, I just kind of was wondering if that's part of it, is that her disability is invisible. Therefore, at least right now, some of the work that goes into getting her what she needs is also invisible. Because a lot of times too, the other part of that is that when I make calls, whether to UNC or to a mediation or to, a pediatrician or to neuropsych or whatever, I either sometimes take advantage of the time in the car and we'll make those calls during that time, or we'll simply walk out of our room where like you work in the closet office area. Mm-hmm. So for example, when I was doing all of the UNC coordination on Friday, I took those calls in Aiden's room. So that stuff like you don't see. Does that make sense?
I guess. So what do you ask? What are you saying exactly?
I'm saying I think that perhaps you don't have full visibility into what I'm doing. Therefore, maybe you should stop asking me that.
Okay. You know what would help though? You know what the solution is?
A time card?
No, the solution is just easy communication.
I've told you.
No, I mean like at night when you sit down, say, hey, let's talk about our day for a second. Here's what all we did.
That's hard to ask.
But is it though? Because it's just like that. I think that this all comes down to.
Can I say why?
You can. I'm just saying. I think
you can.
Well, yeah, of course you can. I'm just saying, like it all boils down to. I think that we need to work on our communication a little bit.
Well,
because
okay. In my defense,
okay,
I have listed to you multiple times what I'm doing all day.
Sometimes.
Yeah. No, I've said it. I've listed it a lot. I just did too here on this podcast.
Maybe we need to have like daily. Maybe we both need to sit down with each other and say, this is.
I don't think that we need to make it to where we're like reporting on our.
I'm not saying it has to be that. I just mean like crap. We already are so disconnected. I feel like sometimes mm-hmm. because you're doing all that, mm-hmm. right?
That's recorded now. Thank you.
Okay. I didn't say you weren't. I'm just saying that you're doing all that. Mm. I am focused on work during the day, other than, that's it. Like, unless I'm going to an appointment with you or something, like, yeah, I'm focused on work, which I have to be. I have to focus
No,
on work.
100%. Yeah.
So I'm doing that. And then, at the end of the day, like, I mean, I'm trying to make sure, like,
Do you think part of your frustration is coming from the fact that I will be real on this podcast? I'm not cleaning right now and I'm not cooking right now.
no, I don't
And
think
it's okay if you're like, be honest.
no, I don't think it's that. For me, just to be honest, my worry is that stuff just may not be getting done.
Oh, 100% there's stuff that's not getting done.
And that's what worries
Because
me.
I don't have the time to do it all. I have to prioritize.
Well, and you have to remember, and the way that I am viewing it is when you were not working in the past, you had meals created, you had
But
bills you had that you
that
were
was
doing.
very
you were doing
different.
Right, but I'm saying though, you have to remember
You can't compare those two things. That was in like 2016. We had 2 kids. We did not have a child with special needs. We were
Right.
not fighting what we were fighting. We very, 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 very different. And that was a version of me that did not have severe depression or PTSD.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm saying though, is I haven't quite got around, I guess, to knowing the new normal yet.
Well, I refuse for this to be the new normal.
Well, but all I'm saying is this is where I'm trying to step up. So I do work during the day. I go to what appointments I can, and I'm cooking right now, which I'm happy to do, doing the best I can there, doing the laundry, I'm trying. So it's like, I get it. Like we're both doing what we can do.
Yeah.
I think it's just, for me right now, it's just a lot. I'm just trying to process how to do it. And that's all. That's all it is for me. Is sometimes I just feel like, I guess, if I don't do it, that's why I just say I'll just do it.
Are you talking about the cooking and the cleaning?
I just mean like everything in general. Like I feel like sometimes even the bill, paying those, making sure all
they're
that's
on
good.
auto pay.
Like, well, some of them are, some of them are not.
99%.
And those have to be stayed on top of. And so
I would pay them
again,
eventually.
this is not.
We got like a disconnect notice. I would pay it.
What I'm saying is, I'm not trying to be negative at all in that.
I know
I
that.
just mean that those type of things I have to stay on top of now.
Yeah.
I used to not have to. I
Right.
used to not have to cook. I used to not have to. Well, I would cook now. I would smoke meat and do all that. I love doing that. But
what did
cooking
I
every
used to
day,
not have to do?
Cooking
What did I used to not have to do?
Well, I have a special need. Correct.
Well, but in like all the administrative stuff I just listed.
Yeah, I know.
None of
but
that.
What I'm saying is I'm trying to get used to this new normal, and I have not gotten used to it yet. And it's just because there's a lot with this.
We can't let it cause an argument, though.
I agree, 100%.
And I'm going to be honest. I love you, but that's on you.
Okay.
Because you say it in kind of a mean way.
Well, it's not intending to be that way.
I know.
So if I say
but it does hurt. And the
Okay.
reason it hurts is because I am fully, completely maxed out mentally. And I'm not doing anything remotely entertaining. I am not, like, if you see me on my phone, I am doing something for the podcast social media wise. If you see me on the computer, I am either doing something for one of the kids or one of us, doctors or whatever, or I am doing something for the podcast. If you see me talking to ChatGPT, I'm talking to it about something like that. Like it's walking me through something, podcast, kids, medical, whatever. So because I am so maxed out mentally, like I already feel exhausted, very much so mentally. And I already feel very much like a failure for not cleaning and cooking. I know you've never said that, and I'm not accusing you of saying that or making me feel that way. I am saying I, as a wife, because I believe that's my role, feel like a failure in that way. That when you ask me what I'm doing all day, that is painful. That hurts. Do you understand that?
Yes, but that's not the way I meant.
I
So
know
I
that.
think that probably, again, it goes back to what I said at the beginning, is communication for us. Like we need to be able to do that better. Like let's just talk real talk here. Like this is something we're learning. We're each doing our different things, and you're doing a lot that I don't see, and I'm doing a lot that you may not see as well. I don't know.
For sure.
But
Yeah.
I think that's what it is like not that we like are reporting what we're doing on each day, just because like I just want to know how your day went. Like, because I guess I'm asking about that is because like I don't know what I need to handle and
You
what
don't
I
need
don't. So you see what I'm saying? But that's where like I want to make sure that
Yeah.
as the husband, I can step up where I need to step up
You are.
and not have something drop. Like
No, you're stepping up. The cooking alone is huge. So
well, I'm happy to do that.
I know, and it's
just
temporary. I want to assure you of that.
If it's not, it is what it is.
It is
like,
because I am very much. A lot of these things are going to fall off my plate at some point. You know, like
are they though?
yeah,
like,
the
we may
Medicaid
not
stuff.
know.
The Medicaid stuff. Like think about it. You know, how long it takes to fight that out, I don't know. We're talking about 2 different Medicaid fights.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to fall off at some point. The other stuff that we don't necessarily have to get into the details of here on this podcast are eventually going to be resolved one way or the other. So yeah, absolutely. And my hope and my prayer is that at that point I can really pour into Mila during the day.
Yeah.
As far as I'm pouring into her right now, but from a very different way than I hope to one day pour into her, which is sitting in the floor working with her, playing with her, like, you know, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. That's all I want too.
100%. And I'm just not able, like, I am just not able to do that. Now, let's talk real here, because there is also an aspect of the podcast that is a lot of work, and we're putting a lot of work. I'm putting a lot of work into that. And I do think that you may struggle a little bit with that. But I'm okay with taking the quote unquote hits, so to speak, like, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like, you know, there's been times where you've kind of complained about like, you know, editing the podcast or whatever. I'm okay with that, because if one day this podcast helps us and other people, then it's worth it. Or if it helps one person.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the reality of it is that it's a lot of work. And
Sure.
if you want to get it to a point where it's helping a lot of people and also potentially us, because I mean, I'm not going to pretend like we don't want to eventually have some benefit from this. Like,
Sure.
I mean, we get benefit from it just sitting and talking.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this alone helps us a lot. But if we ever make $1 off of this podcast, of course that would be great. That's not our goal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our goal is ultimately to help people. That's why we started it. But I would be lying if I said we don't ever want to make a single dollar. That'd be silly. Everyone wants to make
Sure.
money. That is not our goal. Our goal is to help. But with that being said, in order to get a podcast to that point, there's a lot of work that goes into that.
Sure.
Now, this point in our lives, is it ideal? Not necessarily, but at the same time, it's the perfect time. Because we can walk through this stuff in real time with whatever audience we may have.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep.
It won't be as authentic if we are talking about this years later.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Meaning, you know, when we told Mila's birth episode, it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a very real time disconnect. You know, we are telling facts and memories that are, yes, painful, but are they still raw and real? Not really.
I get that. I forgot a lot. I mean, I forgot a lot from a long time ago.
And I could get through that podcast episode without crying.
Mm-hmm.
But then you talk about the seizure episode. I couldn't get through that without crying
Mm-hmm.
because it's still new. You talk about the neuropsychology episode last week. I couldn't get through that episode without crying. And I think that helps our audience more, not the crying part, but the authenticity
Mm-hmm.
of it. Of, hey, guess what? Like, we're real people. We're really struggling. And we're going to put it on the internet because, let's be honest, most people are struggling. And the audience that we want to help are the people that are struggling alongside of us with the same or similar or even different things, right? Yeah. And so if we can be authentic for that audience, goal accomplished. Mm-hmm. Does that make any sense?
It does, and I just want to give some thoughts on that.
Yeah,
like
please.
just staying right there because you were talking about being real. The only thing, and I understand how much work the podcast goes into. Like I see it, I get that. I mean, trying to figure out the audio and all the other stuff that happens with that. Like I understand.
Don't even get me started on audio.
The only thing that is, I just want to make sure that I worry about, and this is just again my worries here.
Yeah.
Is that I don't want the podcast to take away from anything that the kids need.
Yeah.
And I mean kids, plural, right?
Yep.
And that's,
I can assure you it does not.
yeah.
I can assure you it does not. There are so many things happening in the background with your children that I am handling. I know that you see stuff like, hey, this toll road bill needs to be paid.
I don't even want to get into that. That drives me up
But
the
I
wall.
know, but I'm just saying, I know you see that, and then sometimes your glass half empty, like, personality can maybe take that to, well, is she also doing that with stuff the kids need, right? I'm
I
not.
don't know.
Like, I'm handling things.
I'm
I
not saying
re-enrolled
they're
them
I'm
in
not
school
saying,
successfully.
No. I'm not saying that they're not getting things they need. I know they are that.
So what do you mean?
I just mean like stuff maybe that they don't like, you spending time with them and all that, being able to have the opportunity.
100%. I need to do better about that.
Well, that's all I mean.
100%.
Just enjoy the kids, right?
Try to
where
enjoy.
they're at. I get it. I understand.
100%.
Like I get it, and I'm not trying to take away from anything that you're doing. I just want you to remember too that
We both need to do a better job of spending one-on-one time,
agreed.
especially with the older children.
Yeah, and I have tried to,
You have,
like, in my own way, taking the kids
100%.
out to lunch or, even if it's to the store or whatever else it is, or Mila to the park or all that kind of stuff. And it's, there's times it's going to be hard to do that stuff. I just want to make sure that, yes, this podcast is extremely important and we want that to be a benefit to everyone.
Yeah.
I just want us to remember too that, the
100%.
kids need us too, and that's my only worry is that I don't ever want this to be front and center above them and their
No. And I think that if you had said that the last 5 times that we had this conversation, we probably would have never argued about it.
Well, but that's the thing.
Because I agree completely.
I'm not great at being able to express my thoughts.
It's okay. Well, maybe that's one of the benefits of this podcast is that you're forced to express them here on this microphone. I agree completely. I could and should and need to do better about one-on-one time with the older children. I think we both do.
Agreed.
And I am not going to let the podcast affect that. That was already something I needed to do better about way before we started the podcast.
Okay.
Let's be honest.
And I'm not saying it's that point. I just mean I just
I hear
don't
you.
ever want it to be so involved because
For sure.
I get it. I know how much work it goes into trying to edit all this and adjusting volume and all this other crap and all that stuff that goes into it. I get that. That's the only thing that's in my head is that I just don't ever want it to take
I get it.
front and center of them.
No,
not
I
that
get
they're
it.
not getting what they need because they are. I just mean any of the little extra.
Well, we don't feed them,
stuff.
but
Yeah, don't feed them.
well, they don't think they get fed because they don't get Pop-Tarts.
That's a whole different
I know.
thing.
Yeah. To clarify, they get fed. We just have one particular child that insists that Pop-Tarts are her only form of the ability to get breakfast.
Yeah, okay.
Even though I'm offering to buy sausage biscuits.
They need more protein. Honestly,
sure.
They'll be fuller if they'll have that. And
I was trying to buy protein bars or sausage biscuits, and here she was like, "No, I want Pop-Tarts."
Gosh,
I
who
was like,
complains about sausage
I don't know,
biscuits?
but let's not get too off
lunatic.
topic here. I hear what you're saying. I will also say too, though, that temporarily there are some sacrifices I think that everybody across the board has to accept simply to get it off the ground. With that being said, short plug here because it seems appropriate. A lot of our listeners, what few we have, are not subscribed. Please subscribe. It's free. Literally all you have to do is log in through a Google account or create an account and subscribe. It costs absolutely nothing. I personally love to subscribe to channels because I have like an organized list of the channels that I watch.
Mm-hmm.
So then on Friday nights and Saturday nights, when I have my glass of wine and I am, decompressing or whatever, YouTube's my go-to. And I will just go down the list of people that I subscribe to and see what they've uploaded recently. And I don't have to go search for it or whatever. Like, it's right there. So please subscribe. The other thing is please leave reviews on Apple. That pushes more than anything else on Apple specifically.
I didn't know
and
that.
not just stars, but words, like a written review. So if you're just friends or family, like if you guys would just like add a written review, that'd be so sweet and awesome. And it can be as honest as you want it to be. I don't care. But like,
yeah, even if you want to say like you love my voice or something, and that's all.
Or if you want to say, Rachel, you're annoying, you interrupt Steven all the time.
Oh, I was told I should be in radio by multiple people.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
you
what
are
they
now.
say.
Just not quite. Like, this is the new version of radio.
I don't know. Sure.
If you want to leave a review that says that I am a comedian of just the utmost talent and skill, that's cool too.
Cool.
Hey, we ranked on Good Pods
That's good.
in the top, I think it was number 22 out of 100
Well, if we keep
for the month for comedy podcasts.
Well, if we keep drudging on, we ain't gonna rank squat. So we better be careful.
So yeah, just short plug there. While I'm plugging, please don't click out. I want to share one thing that I created, and this was a labor of love, and I spent a little bit of time on this. But it's it's a document that I made. It's completely free. Yes, you have to put in your email. Yes, you can unsubscribe the second you download it. That's fine. No hard feelings. But it is literally just a document that when we were going through the things we were going through, and we still are, people would ask us, how can I help? Right?
Yep.
There was a lot of things that would pop into my mind. How can I help? Well, I mean, I can think of things that I'm not willing to say that are embarrassing. So I literally created a checklist that it's interactive. You can use it on your phone. You can like check it. You can type into it. And there's two different, it's all in the same document, but there's two different versions. One for the person that needs help and one for the person that wants to help. As an example, one of the things on there is we need groceries. We are low on, and then it has like a field you can fill in. That's awkward to say, but if someone is asking how they can help, print this out, check off what you actually need and hand it to them because I know they really want to. And then on the flip side, if you want to help somebody and you ask, how can I help? A lot of times you're not going to get the real honest answers. So I have added some things on there that we really needed at the time that we weren't willing to say. And then anything else that I could think of that might be relevant for other people. And you, as a person that wants to help, can check off like, I am going to come over at this time and whatever. I am bringing you dinners for your refrigerator, and it has like a blank or a blank spot where you can write like the date and time you're coming, whatever. I'm going to put it in the description. Again, like I said, yes, it will ask for your email. Please know, number one, it's free. Number two, it is done through like a legitimate source. So it's not spam. What number am I on? I don't know, but you can unsubscribe immediately. That's fine. That is okay. It's not going to hurt my feelings. If you want to stay subscribed, I am only going to send one email a week that simply states like, hey, we uploaded an episode, or like 2 paragraphs about what our week looked like. And that is it. You're not going to get anything else. So quick plug there. We wanted to touch on the comedy, but I feel like I told enough jokes.
Yeah, I think we probably did. I mean,
and we're probably out of time.
Yeah, fair enough.
We can share my epic joke at a later date.
Fair enough.
You got anything else?
I don't. I think it was a good episode.
I think so too. I have absolutely no idea what we're filming next week. Who knows what's going to happen at this point? It's like maybe our house falls down from a tornado.
Well, let's not go there, but we'll figure it out.
We'll keep you guys along for the ride with, the implants, the hearing aids, whatever. We'll, with respect to our daughter, share. We don't put her face on social media for the most part, but I want to share, and yeah. So with that being said, that's all I got.
Same.
And we'll see y'all next week.
Thank you.